I don't know much about quantum physics or quantum mechanics, and neither do most people on the internet, and that is exactly why I am making this video today, because I am seeing far too many videos just like these ones.
Quantum leap and quantum jumping.
Quantum leaping.
Quantum jump.
Quantum jump.
Popping up all over my TikTok For You page. And while people like this might try and make it sound like they understand the science behind these theories that they're sharing, they don't. And just like all of the other concepts that I talk about on this channel, all of these quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum leaping, quantum universe gurus that portray themselves as such on the internet are frauds, and we need to talk about it. You know, I saw a comment online the other day that referred to these people as quantum mystics, and I think that that terminology really just encapsulates everything so beautifully. You see, the information that these people are sharing is not legitimate. Like, yes, quantum mechanics is a legitimate thing, but the way that they present quantum mechanics to their audience is not correct. But what they do is they utilize this fake science, these false narratives, to prey on people's vulnerabilities. And just like all of these other coaches and gurus that I expose on this channel, they offer them a probable solution to the challenges that those people are facing and sell it to them via online courses, ebooks, coaching, and that sort of thing. But the problem is that it's all based in pseudoscience, and they're not really selling them anything legitimate. From the reading I've done online, there was a point in time when a handful of quantum physicists started to speculate that there was a connection between quantum mechanics and the human mind. But those theories or speculations have been debunked many, many times over the course of history by multiple different quantum physicists. And one of the original scientists who was speculating that connection goes by the name of Eugene Wigner. He actually retracted his initial speculations because he realized that it wasn't true. But I assume what happened, and this is a phenomenon we see with any kind of misinformation that gets spread on the internet, is that the wrong information got into the hands of a few too many influential people, and next thing you know, it's being spewed all over the internet like wildfire, shared as fact, when in fact it is not fact, it is false. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing why and how these quantum spiritual grifts exist. I'm going to be sharing some of the content that I've come across in relation to this, and I'm going to be debunking this entire phenomenon. If that sounds good to you, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I'm really trying to hit 1,500 subs, so thank you so much for being here, and let's go ahead and jump right in. Ultimately, I think it's very important for us to break down a few key factors here, and as a bit of a disclaimer for this video, I obviously am not a scientist, nor do I claim to be one, nor do I really claim to know much about science whatsoever. I haven't taken a science class since high school, which was a long, long time ago. So for this video, I actually consulted with my partner, who is a nerd, for lack of a better term. He studied biochemistry and molecular biology in university, and he actually started in nanotechnology engineering, and so he has taken courses in quantum mechanics. And he basically explained to me that most concepts in quantum mechanics have solutions that are completely unintuitive to how you would expect a solution in science to be. And he explained that in quantum mechanics, the probability of a specific outcome cannot be chosen or affected through your actions. And I think this is really important to note, because what we often see in the quantum spiritual world is these gurus saying the exact opposite. Basically saying that you can shift and change anything that you desire. And here's what I think is happening. Essentially what they do is they take this concept that they themselves don't fully understand. Because for the record, true quantum mechanics can only really be understood through mathematics. A worded description never really does justice to what's actually happening in quantum mechanics. And yet I don't see any of these quantum gurus doing any kind of mathematics whatsoever. They always have an explanation. And so what we see is all of these gurus having these complex explanations for these different phenomenons and human experiences that are in themselves completely incorrect. So here's what I think is happening and why we are seeing so many of these schemes or grifts gaining so much traction and mainstream popularity. Making your position sound scientific, making it sound complicated is a surefire way to get people to believe that you know what you are talking about, because it makes it seem like it is such high-level information that the viewer themselves can't understand, so you must know what it is you're talking about. It positions these people as the expert. And of course, people are perfectly justified in having a scientific conversation if the conversation they are having is actually rooted in real science. But the problem is, I would argue or assume that 99% of these coaches who are on the internet talking about quantum mechanics don't actually understand the science or the mathematics behind it. All they know is things that they read in books. These books being things like The Quantum Revelation by Paul Levy, not a scientist. Books like The Field by Lynn McTaggart, also not a scientist. Books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, who is, guess what, also not a scientist. And with so much of this pseudoscientific information being toted around as actual scientific theory, it makes it really easy for these grifters to take advantage of vulnerable people who perhaps don't have the wherewithal or understanding to be able to think critically and ask the right questions. Not to mention, speaking from experience, once you start to believe these things, it can be really easy to fall down a rabbit hole where you just keep believing more and more of the things that you're consuming. And then you find yourself slipping into this place of confirmation bias where you're constantly looking for examples of these theories that you believe happening in your real life or anecdotally through other people's experiences. And this leads me well into my next point. Many of the people who are making the arguments for quantum physics, quantum mechanics, at least from my observations, are often completely unaware of the fact that they are spouting complete nonsense. They believe what they are saying to be true. They truly believe that, as uneducated as they may be, that they understand quantum mechanics, when the reality is they don't. Quantum mechanics is hard to understand. I don't understand it, and neither do most people. And when I literally texted my partner and said, "Can you please explain quantum mechanics in the most basic way?" the answer he gave me was like 10 text messages long. Here's what he had to say. Oh man, this is a tough one. But essentially, it's the physics at a subatomic level. When things get that small, there's a lot of bizarre effects that happen, that people end up utilizing human logic that fall apart. Again, it's this idea that the results are often unintuitive to what we would expect. So we try to use, regular patterns and expectations to justify the results, but we can't do that because it doesn't make sense. One of them is that quantum scale particles don't behave like little balls, but instead they behave like waves. They are decentralized. And in order to predict where a particle is, you, instead of getting a location, get a distribution of probability of where it could be. Many people confuse this probability with free will or some other human concept of consciousness or desire attached to its behavior. So again, it's this idea that people tend to think we can predict or alter the outcome of certain scenarios when the reality is it's just random. Now then, to validate the answer he gave me, he also went on ChatGPT, and this was the answer that ChatGPT gave. Quantum mechanics is a branch of physics that describes how particles behave on a very small scale, such as atoms and subatomic particles like electrons and protons. In classical physics, we can predict the behavior of an object by observing its position, velocity, and other physical properties. However, in quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states at the same time, a concept known as superposition. This means that we cannot predict with certainty where a particle will be at any given moment. Again, that's contrary to what a lot of these gurus say. They seem to think that it's all a choice and we get to choose, where it's all going to end up. Another important concept in quantum mechanics is the uncertainty principle, which states that we cannot precisely measure both the position and momentum of a particle at the same time. The act of measuring one property will affect the other, leading to inherent uncertainty. Additionally, particles can become entangled, which means that their properties become linked in a way that cannot be explained by classical physics. This has led to the development of quantum computing, which utilizes these properties to perform computations that are not possible with classical computers. Overall, quantum mechanics is a complex and fascinating area of physics that challenges our understanding of the universe at the smallest scale. And then my partner followed up by saying, by the way, all of these quantum effects require very specific conditions to exist, like if an entangled particle interacts with any part of the rest of the universe, it immediately gets unentangled. So a lot of quantum effects can only exist at close to 0 degrees Celsius in a vacuum. That's important to add to the confusion that people think they can apply those quantum effects at large scales. Okay, who else is feeling really confused? Because I am, for sure. But I think that really proves my point. I consider myself to be a pretty intelligent person, but when I start to listen and learn about these things, I am thinking like, this is way over my head. But instead, what we see these people do is they take these complex theories, they cherry pick the pieces that they want to believe to be true, and then they try to find evidence in their life that they are in fact related to reality. And I think it's this fact that leaves such a huge opportunity for these people. Because essentially, if you want to be able to make your position sound convincingly scientific, all you really need to do is make some sort of vague allusion to quantum mechanics. And most of the general population isn't going to know any different. The fact that very few people truly understand quantum mechanics means that there are very few people who are going to be able to call these people out on their bullshit. And that is why I'm making this video. And that is why it's so important to have these conversations, because no one else is out there to know any better or to say any different. I'm getting heated from this. I think it's time that we go ahead and jump into the content so that I can help you debunk and understand what this looks like in a real context. Okay, so with all that being said, I thought it would be helpful to take the points that I've made and show you some real life examples of what exactly this content looks like, and to further discuss why what they are saying is not true in relation to the specific examples that they provide. Now, again, as a disclaimer, I don't understand quantum mechanics, and so I did consult my partner on some of the feedback that I am going to share in this portion of the video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and have a look together.
Nothing is real. The Nobel Prize for Physics in 2022 proved this. It feels crazy, but like this fan, this ugly fan, has no properties when I'm not looking at it.
That's not true.
Like, it exists like that because me and you are looking at it, but when we're not looking at it, it's not inherently there.
She is confusing the notion of observation, which happens in a laboratory in a controlled environment, not actually observing like physical objects.
Like, they prove this. So what does it mean for us? Like, for manifestation purposes, this means everything. Everything is just simply potential. Everything is just a possibility until we observe it that way. And then when we look away, it's not necessarily there anymore. So I feel like one reason a lot of us aren't living the lives we really want to is because we attach ourselves to what's so real in our lives, like all our problems that are so real. Like, oh, I hate my coworkers, I'm lost in my job. Like, all our problems feel so real, but it's like, well, why? Like, why can't you just get a better job? Lots of people like their jobs.
Okay. Not really sure the relevance that she's going to bring together here, but that comment in itself is inherently very, very privileged, and I don't like that. Not everyone can just decide to quit their job and find a new job. It's not that easy for the majority of people.
Lots of people make money alternative ways, like investing in the stock market or whatever. So if other people can do it, why not you?
Okay, I get it. I get this mindset. I am also someone who is like, if I see someone else doing something, then that serves as validation that I could potentially achieve that thing as well. However, again, there is a certain level of privilege that needs to be recognized to be in a position where you can actually live the reality of that truth. So for me to see someone doing something, starting a YouTube channel, for example, monetizing their YouTube channel, I watched other creators do it and I decided, you know what, I could do that too. But I was in a position where I had the means to be able to dedicate the time necessary to make that happen. And I recognized that that's not the reality for many, if not most people. So again, for her to just say, well, if you see other people do it, you should just be able to do it too, it's not necessarily true given the context of every individual's life circumstances.
Or like, oh, I can't start that business because blah, 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 insert excuse here. But there's no excuses. Nothing's real. Everything's a game. You create your reality by observing it. So act as if you are that successful business owner. Start your business. Show up every day. Visualize. And your reality has to appear because our outer reality is created from our inner reality. What you believe on the inside, your true thoughts and beliefs and actions, is what manifests in your outer reality. And if you've been like manifesting and you're like, oh, but like it's not working, Well, the law of attraction is the only law that like exists, so it is working. You are manifesting all of the time. So if you're not liking what you're seeing, there's still a core belief, a limiting belief, a thought that's not serving you in you. Like, I used to try to visualize, like one of the first things I ever visualized was like being a millionaire, and I was not even close to being a millionaire, okay? And I would just picture it in my mind, like, I'm gonna make $1 million. But truly, if I'm being really honest with myself, when I look back in that time, I did not manifest $1 million. I felt anxiety. Like when I did that, I felt like, is it working? Like, is this gonna work? Is this real? And it wasn't a neutral, like, I wonder if this will work, like fun and play. It was like anxiety and pressure on the situation, and that type of energy repels the results. So of course I never saw it that way. So all the science, what it's saying is nothing's real. We don't have to attach ourselves to anything. Like nothing's real. Everything's just potential. So let's just like have fun, like observing what we want to and live our biggest life possible. We are here to create. God made us in his image or whatever, gave us all his creation powers to create stuff and to have fun and live the life we are meant to. So let's just do it, right?
Okay, so this is a prime example of someone taking this like fluffy concept of manifestation, in my opinion, and trying to tie it to a scientific definition. So she mentioned that Nobel Prize at the beginning to give the video a sense of legitimacy, and then ties it to this completely unrelated and not scientifically founded concept. Now, I actually came across this video back in February when I first started working on the content for this video that you're watching right now. And I actually left her this comment on her video. So essentially what I said was the notion of observation that is referred to in the study of quantum physics is not referring to like physically looking at something. It's observing in a controlled environment. Further to this, the observations made in the study proved that results are random and that even in a controlled environment, you cannot control the results. So just like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, often the results of studies in quantum mechanics are not intuitive to what you would expect to happen. And so even if you control the factors of the experiment, you cannot control the results that are given. And she's essentially saying the opposite, that if there's something you want to achieve in life, you just have to think about it and eventually it will happen for you. So again, she's drawing connections to scientific definitions that don't actually translate into regular macro reality. Let's look at the next video.
This is exactly how to quantum jump into a new reality. Let's do it step by step. This information has changed my frickin' life, and I hope you're ready for it to change yours too. The shit I have been able to manifest using this is unreal. Imagine how you can shift your reality if you started this today. To explain this, time is not linear. We really can jump to any timeline by aligning to that frequency. Think of it like tuning your radio to the radio station that you're trying to listen to. All right, let's get into it. Step 1, you need to zero in on the exact reality that you're trying to jump to. Get specific. Step 2, uproot the limiting beliefs that are standing in your way of quantum jumping. What is that doubt you have and where did it come from? And is it rooted in truth? Step 3, surrender to become the alchemist. Decide that regardless of your doubts, you will step into your new reality anyway. Believe that it can happen for you. Step 4, take the quantum leap. You can do this by listening to a quantum jumping meditation, using the shower method, the open doors method, the list goes on. Step 5, show up as if you were living in your new reality. You have to trust the process. Believe your reality is changing. And check out my quantum jumping playlist to learn more about how to quantum shift your reality.
Again, I mentioned this in my video about manifestation, but they are taking the concept of believing in yourself, of building self-confidence, of having goals and aspirations, and then tying it to quantum mechanics when there is no connection, bringing those two things together. It's the same spiritual grift we see time and time again. Believe in yourself and you can achieve anything that you want. Yes, I get it. Self-confidence, self-talk, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we believe in our ability to do and say the things that we want to do is the thing that sets apart the people who actually accomplish the things they want in life and then those who don't. I'm not disagreeing with that, but why, I want to know, do we have to attribute the success that we are able to accomplish to this greater power or phenomenon? Why are we trying to explain it with scientific explanations that aren't even real. I did a whole video on my channel a few weeks ago right here that debunks why I believe the principles of manifestation aren't real and why I don't practice manifestation. And so if you haven't seen that video, I think it would help to give you a little bit more context as to where I'm coming from. So I would definitely recommend you go and check that out. Okay, I only have one more video.
I quantum jumped to a different dimension this morning. A lot of people have been asking me of an example of what quantum jumping looks like, because we shift through dimensions all the time. If you don't believe that, keep scrolling, because this video isn't for you. It's not for you.
I'm not gonna keep scrolling. I need to watch this.
Now I've got all of you here that believe in quantum mechanics and metaphysics and believe that we are made of atoms and electrons, etc. So we can do exactly what they have seen in the lab.
Okay, here's the thing. Just like I explained earlier in this video, they try to make their argument sound scientific when it's not scientific. So she's essentially saying, like, this video is for those of you who believe quantum mechanics is real. I can believe that quantum mechanics is real, but I can also at the same time believe that quantum mechanics and the physical human experience aren't necessarily affected by one another or connected to one another. And that's essentially what she's going to explain, that they are connected. But I just think that for her to say, well, you don't believe in quantum physics, is kind of ridiculous, because she most likely, I don't know this person individually, but I'm going to assume doesn't understand quantum physics. So the irony is just not lost on me.
Anyway, long story short, so this is a perfect example of how you can shift timelines and notice it in your reality. So yesterday, I went to the shop and I had £15 in my little wallet. I'll show you. Okay, nobody laugh at this little thing. But I had £15 in there, okay? I went to the shop and I used this £5 note. I handed this £5 note over and bought a bottle of water. And then when I get in my car, it's there. I spent this yesterday. You can believe that or not, but I've spent this yesterday. I have £15 again, so...
Okay, so you forgot $5 in your car and now you're attributing it to the fact that the universe is magical, and it basically tunneled the atoms from that $5 bill from the store into your car, which does not make sense. So the concept that she's referring to here is called quantum tunneling, and when I search it on Google, it says tunneling is a quantum mechanical phenomenon when a particle is able to penetrate through a potential energy barrier that is higher in energy than the particle's kinetic energy. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, electrons can tunnel, but they do so randomly. And this is electrons we're talking about, which is like at the nano level. We're not talking about people, we're not talking about objects. The point is, it's happening at the nano level and the results are not chosen, okay? Hopefully you're following me. And so this was the part that I was consulting with my partner on, and he led me down this rabbit hole of all of this science that I frankly do not understand. But if you look up electron cloud probability distribution squared, you will see this chart, and it shows the probability of finding an electron outside of the atom. So it has tunneled outside of the atom. And the probability of that actually happening is related to the distance of the teleportation. So in simple terms, if the electron has a further distance to travel, the less likely it is to be able to do so. So the fact that these people think that they can jump entire realities and entire timelines, which would require billions of atoms to do so, makes literally zero sense. And the probability that a random group of atoms would perfectly shape and distribute themselves into a $5 bill is so insanely close to zero that it makes no sense that someone would believe this. Expecting random atoms to quantum tunnel into the shape of a $5 bill and have them be the exact same $5 bill that you used to buy your bottle of water at the store yesterday would absolutely be the most random thing that has ever happened in the universe, in the history of the universe. And again, it is stories like this that just go to show how these people take an actual scientific theory and misconstrue it to fit the narrative and fit the lesson and the story that they're trying to portray. These were just a few examples. I know I could keep going. There are literally thousands of these videos online, and every time I just want to roll my eyes so hard they fall into the back of my head and I never have to look at them again. But alas, I hope that you learned something in this video. If you have contributions that you would like to make to this conversation, I welcome any and all feedback in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I'm happy to continue these conversations. I think that it's really important that we bring to light a lot of this misinformation that is being spread online because it can be a really dangerous place that people find themselves in. So as always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Let me go ahead and leave you with this video right here next.